Every week, there's new news around AI capabilities and new AI agents being launched. Meanwhile, large companies and enterprises are announcing big layoffs. And that's creating a lot of angst with the digital trailblazers that I know, both in their companies and how they manage to their strategies, to how they think about their careers, and especially for those in transition. Hi, I'm Isaac Sacolick. I'm the president of StarCIO, and today we'll be talking about AI leadership opportunities, successful strategies when jobs are at risk, whether you're employed as a digital trailblazer or you're looking for new opportunities. So today I have three insights for digital trailblazers as you think about your career and as you think about working through your organization. These come from the Coffee with Digital Trailblazers. It's an event I host on LinkedIn on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can learn more about the Coffee with Digital Trailblazers at the URL drive.starcio.com/coffee. You'll see a link there to add it to your calendar. And I hope you'll join us for them. We've had one episode around developing level one leadership, which I think is what you should be doing inside your organization. I'm going to share some insights around how to transform to skill-based hiring and also think about positioning yourself for outcome-based hiring. And then lastly, as you really think about your long-term career, I want to give you some options as a digital trailblazer and to start thinking about potentially entrepreneurial activities for yourself. So three areas that I have lots of data and lots of insights for you today. So much of the impact around AI, especially companies focused on efficiencies and productivity, is happening with entry level or level one jobs in areas like security, DevOps, marketing, customer support. These are areas where there's been an explosion of AI agents coming out in 2025. And we're starting to see that in the numbers. Stanford reporting a 13% relative decline in employment. Postings for entry level jobs in the US have declined by 35%. IDC is reporting 66% of enterprises are reducing entry level hiring. In the US, the unemployment rate for young college graduates rose by 9.5%. Now, this is creating some opportunities and some risks for digital trailblazers. We covered this in a Coffee with Digital Trailblazers hour around the talent crunch. And it's not just that we're not hiring enough of these people and that we're reducing the headcount. We're also making it a little bit more difficult for those people to actually get jobs in our organization. 77% of career and 67% of tenured workers are saying AI raises the expectation for entry level jobs. And in fact, Gartner is saying that there's going to be significant disruption over the next 2 to 5 years in our IT and digital organizations. So what should digital trailblazers do with this information? I wrote a blog post around this, a follow-up to the episode around talent crunch. The very first thing I want you to be thinking about is on-the-job learning and apprenticeships, particularly in the areas that are most impacted. We can no longer just afford to send people to courses or let them get certifications. We need them to develop business acumen at the same time that they are learning a new skill or a new area to focus on. So I think apprenticeships and partnering with companies that can help with on-the-job learning is one of the recommendations I had in this blog post. If you want the URLs for all this research, for access to the coffee hour recording and to links to the articles that I've written, do sign up for my newsletter, starcio.com/DDS-88. You'll get a special email after signing up that will give you links to all the articles, the research, and the coffee hours that I'm mentioning. So let's move on to the next area. Now we're going to talk about not just who's being impacted, but how do we have to think about hiring. So a second Coffee with Digital Trailblazers episode focused on hiring and being hired. We covered three different trends in the hiring process. If you're hiring somebody, think about skill-based hiring. This is about focusing on somebody's accomplishments and letting them tell their story and focusing less on the specific certifications or companies they work for or even the roles that they had. So what do they actually do in their jobs that made them successful? If you are a digital trailblazer and you're focused on being hired or preparing yourself for that, you really have to think about the outcomes that you drove, how much revenue, what kinds of customer experiences you changed, how efficiencies drove cost reductions. So you need to start with the story of the outcome and then get into what your leadership role was and how you accomplished that. If you're applying for C-level roles, you need to really think about performance-based metrics. This is around specific goals that you were given and how you accomplish them. And I'm talking mostly around financial types of performance objectives for the C leaders listening to this. Now, there's been a lot of data around skill and outcome-based hiring. For skill-based hiring, it's done a significant increase in the talent pools that you'll be able to attract if you're focused on skills and your job recs are focused on skills. When it comes to AI roles, an 8.2 times increase in the size of the pool. When you think about diversity, a 24% increase in the women applying for those jobs. And even in green roles, entry level roles, there's a 3.5 times increase in the size because they could see that you're focused on what you're trying to accomplish as an organization and less around all the credentials that you're potentially looking for. So if you're hiring, think about skill-based hiring. If you're preparing yourself to be hired, you need to have an AI story, right? And you can see from this that AI stories are getting you hired at a higher rate, but also commanding higher salaries, even more than just getting another degree. So as a digital trailblazer, yes, go learn AI, but you need to have your stories about what you accomplished with your AI, what outcomes that they drove. Recruiters are increasingly using AI in the recruiting process. So as a digital trailblazer, you really need to have your stories down, right? You need to have a personal brand out there to make sure that they find you other than the 1 or 2 pieces of paper that they're going to scan around your credentials. So make sure you practice your pitch and you have a real story around what you're doing with AI, but more important, what your outcomes are. So 2 different areas for digital trailblazers to focus on: how you're hiring based on skills and how you're preparing yourself to be hired based on outcomes. So as a digital trailblazer, you have to prepare for your future. For some of you, that means staying in your current job and moving up the ladder. Others, you'll look for a way to get progressively more responsibilities either in your industry or even moving to other industries. But with the AI opportunities and disruptions, I think you have to prepare or even seek opportunities through door number 3. And that includes being an entrepreneur, becoming a founder, joining a startup, or even thinking about becoming a solopreneur. We covered this at a recent Coffee with Digital Trailblazers. It was a really explosive conversation with lots of really good advice for digital trailblazers. It was on National Entrepreneurship Week. Again, you can get links to all the coffee hours, my blogs, and all the research by visiting starcio.com/DDS-88. You'll get my newsletter and a special email with all of these links. You'll see that entrepreneurship is growing, and it's because digital trailblazers are preparing for that, either as something that you're seeking or something that becomes an opportunity for you. So even if you have a role today, consider that opportunity for yourself, but also think about what it means to become an entrepreneur or a solopreneur. Many of you may be afraid of this. I suggest meeting others to get over those fears. It is a lot of stress. I talk about my stresses as a CIO and a CTO in Digital Trailblazer. Pick up the book and you'll be sitting next to me during all those periods of time when I faced scrutiny. And it's also a ton of work. You're not going to be able to sit by the beach and just collect subscription revenue. It takes a lot of sweat labor to get there. We covered all these stories at the coffee hour. I hope you'll listen to it, and a lot of anecdotes. I'll have a blog post around this one coming up in the future. So let's summarize what digital trailblazers have to do to prepare for the AI transformations and disruptions that are occurring in industry. So the AI leadership opportunities for digital trailblazers start with looking at the entry-level, first-level roles in your company and taking a leadership role. Develop an apprenticeship program in your department or maybe across your entire organization. But then when you think about hiring, learn skill-based hiring, apply it in your job descriptions, make sure that everybody who is in the interviewer's role knows what to ask for, and shift to this model to increase your talent pool and increase the diversity of your talent, especially around AI oriented roles. And then get used to telling your outcome based story. Don't start with how you led teams or what technologies you used. Think about what outcomes you drove, particularly around the AI opportunities that you get involved with. And then as you think about your career going into the future, think about new avenues for you to explore, whether it's being an entrepreneur or joining a startup or even becoming a solopreneur. There's a lot of upheaval in the hiring space today. There's a good chance that you might be unemployed at some point. There's a good chance that you might want to look at other opportunities outside of what you're doing. And a lot of what you have to do today is to be prepared with different opportunities for yourself. Thank you for joining this week's Driving Digital Stand Up. I've spoken at length about the Coffee with Digital Trailblazers. I want you to know more about the Digital Trailblazer community. It's a community for developing your leadership skills and building confidence and consulting with advisors. You can learn more about the community at drive.starcio.com/community. Thanks for joining. I'll be back next month with some new episodes.